Welcome to the Deep Dive. We're your ticket to getting, really well informed. Today, we're jumping right into the heart of big business. It's always moving, always changing, companies growing, merging, sometimes even shrinking. It's this whole world of strategic moves that, well, shapes pretty much everything around us. So, our mission today, we're going to cut through the jargon around the economic effect of significant transactions. We'll explore how companies get bigger, how they combine the actual deals they make, and even how they slim down strategically. By the end, you'll have a much clearer view of these kind of hidden forces shaping the market and all the brands you know. Okay, let's dive in. When businesses join forces, we often hear the term business combination. But it's not just one thing, is it? Sounds like there are different flavors.
That's right. It's not one size fits all. Fundamentally, it just means one company is expanding its operations by joining up with others. It's really about achieving something together that they probably couldn't do alone.
Right. Makes sense. And you mentioned there are four main types. Let's start with the first one, horizontal combinations. Where does that fit in?
Okay, horizontal. This happens when companies in the exact same industry, making the same kind of stuff, goods or services, come together under one management structure.
So like direct competitors joining hands, why do that?
Well, the big reasons usually cited are, first, reducing competition, obvious one. Then there's achieving economies of scale, making things cheaper because you're bigger. And hopefully maximizing profits by having more clout in the market. Also things like gaining expertise and maybe minimizing overproduction.
Okay, getting bigger, cutting costs, less competition. It sounds pretty powerful. Like, think about grocery stores. In 2015, Heinz and Kraft Foods merged. Huge names. Became the Kraft Heinz Company. What was the big play there?
Yeah, that was a massive horizontal combination. The idea was to create an absolute powerhouse in processed foods. They were projecting, I think, around $28 billion in annual revenue and expecting something like $1.5 billion in cost savings just from combining operations.
Wow, $1.5 billion in savings. That's significant.
It is. But, merging two giants like that also brings huge challenges. Integrating cultures, systems. It's not just flipping a switch.
Right. Okay, so that's horizontal, is staying in your lane but getting bigger. What about vertical combinations? How's that different?
Vertical is different. It's about combining companies at different stages of the production process. Think up and down the supply chain, not side to side like horizontal. These companies could be in the same industry or even different ones, as long as they're part of that chain.
So what's the strategic advantage there, controlling the whole flow?
Exactly. It's often about control and stability. You might buy your supplier to guarantee raw materials, that's called backward integration. Or you might buy your distributor to secure a market for your products, that's forward integration.
Okay, securing supplies or sales channels. Seems smart. Any downsides?
Well, sure. While it gives you control, it can sometimes make a company less flexible. You're locked into your own supply chain, maybe missing out on innovations or better prices from outside suppliers. It's a trade-off.
Gotcha. There was that big-time Warner and Turner broadcasting merger back in '96. Seems like a vertical play in entertainment.
Absolutely. Time Warner was already huge in delivering content, and Turner owned a ton of cable channels like CNN, TNT, Cartoon Network, plus a big film library.
Yeah.
So Time Warner buying Turner. That was forward integration. They got direct control over all that content they were distributing, created this massive global entertainment giant.
It must have made waves.
Oh, definitely. The Federal Trade Commission, the FTC, they were very concerned about how it would affect competition in the cable industry. Took a hard look at it for months. Shows that tension between big strategic moves and regulatory worries.
Okay, interesting. Then there's the circular combination. This one sounds a bit less obvious. What's the connection here?
Yeah, circular is a bit more abstract. It involves bringing together business units that have, let's say, relatively remote connections, not direct competitors, not supplier-customer. The link might be subtle, like they use similar distribution channels or maybe the same kind of advertising, or even similar production processes deep down.
So what's the goal if the businesses aren't directly related?
The main benefit usually comes down to efficiency, specifically administrative efficiency. You put these somewhat disconnected units under one management umbrella. And the idea is that this single management group can run things cheaper overall, reducing administrative costs, maybe some operational costs too.
Huh. So let's try an example. Imagine a big drug company, say Pharma Inc. What if they bought a company like Letts and Watson that builds retirement communities? Seems totally different. Why?
That's a great kind of out there example that illustrates it well. It seems random, right? But maybe Pharma Inc. has deep insights into the senior market. their health needs, how to reach them. By acquiring Letts and Watson, they could leverage that existing customer knowledge and maybe their marketing channels to sell high-end retirement housing. It's expanding within a demographic they already know well, plus getting those administrative cost savings, finding an unexpected link.
Okay, finding a hidden connection and saving on overhead. Got it. And the last one, diagonal combinations. Sounds like it involves angles or support.
Support is the key word. A diagonal combination happens when a company doing its main thing, its primary activity, integrates with another company that provides essential support for that activity, like a critical service.
Bringing a key support function in-house, basically. What's the main objective?
The objective is all about reliability and effectiveness, making absolutely sure that crucial support service is delivered on time, done right, without fail. It's about removing a potential point of failure if that support is vital to your core business.
Okay, let's make that concrete. Say Landbright Farms breeds organic livestock, and they merge with Fresh Meats, Inc., the trucking company that transports their meat in refrigerated trucks. Why is that diagonal, and why would Landbright care so much?
Perfect example. Fresh Meats isn't raising animals or selling meat directly. They provide the specialized transportation. That's the ancillary support. For Landbright, getting their organic, perishable products to market safely and quickly is absolutely critical. It affects quality, reputation, everything. By merging, Landbright ensures that crucial logistics piece is totally reliable and integrated. They're not depending on an outside company that might have other priorities. It protects their core mission. Quality control from farm to, well, the distributor.
Okay, that really clarifies the different strategic reasons behind these combinations. But how do they actually do it? Let's get into the nuts and bolts, the actual transaction types.
Right. So beyond the strategy, horizontal, vertical, etc., there are specific ways these deals get done. We usually talk about 4 main transaction methods: mergers, acquisitions, tender offers, and purchases of assets.
Let's start with merger. That's the term most people probably know. What makes something a true merger?
In a classic merger, 2 or more companies combine to form a single, completely new corporation. Think of it like A plus B equals C. The old stocks of companies A and B are surrendered, and shareholders get new stock in the new company, C. Mergers often, though not always, involve companies that are roughly similar in size.
And after the deal closes, is it smooth sailing?
Rarely. That's often when the real hard work begins. You've got to integrate everything, different computer systems, different ways of doing things, different corporate cultures. That can be incredibly challenging, especially with like-sized companies used to being independent.
Yeah, I can imagine. We mentioned Dell and EMC earlier. They merged in 2016 to become Dell Technologies. Huge tech deal. What made that one stand out, maybe beyond just the size?
Well, the size was staggering, nearly $60 billion. It brought together Dell's strength in PCs and servers with EMC's dominance in data storage. A really complementary fit in many ways, aiming to create an end-to-end enterprise IT giant. But, as you hinted, merging those 2 distinct cultures, Dell's lean, direct sales model versus EMC's more traditional enterprise approach, that was a major integration task, keeping the best of both worlds without massive disruption.
Okay, so that's a merger creating a new entity. How does an acquisition differ? Sounds more like a takeover.
That's a good way to think about it. In an acquisition, no new company is formed. One company, the acquirer, essentially absorbs the other company, the target. Usually the acquirer is larger, and the acquired company might keep its name for a while, or it might just disappear into the acquirer. So it's more like A plus B equals A. Only the acquirer remains as the surviving entity.
Right. You mentioned AT&T earlier, too. They had that forced breakup in the 80s, spinning off the baby bells. But then fast forward to 2006, and AT&T actually reacquired one of them, Bell South. Why was that an acquisition?
Exactly. That deal, over $85 billion, was a clear acquisition. AT&T was the surviving company. Its name and structure didn't change. Bell South was absorbed. The strategy there was about regaining control over infrastructure, especially the last mile connection to customers, which became super important for broadband and wireless growth. It was AT&T consolidating power after that earlier mandated deconsolidation. A strategic reversal, really.
Fascinating how things cycle. Okay, next transaction type. Tender offer. Sounds direct.
Very direct. A tender offer is when a company goes straight to the shareholders of another company and offers to buy their shares, usually at a price higher than the current market price to make it attractive.
Bypassing the target company's management.
Often, yes. That's frequently the point, especially if the target's management isn't interested in a deal what's called a hostile takeover attempt. The offer can be cash, or sometimes stock in the acquiring company. Shareholders then decide individually whether to tender or sell their shares.
So if Biltmore Inc. offers, say, $13 a share for Alexander Co. stock, when it's trading at $11, that seems like a good deal for Alexander shareholders.
It's designed to be. If enough shareholders agree and sell their shares, Biltmore gains control. Biltmore would pay the $13 per share as promised.
But what if not enough shareholders bite? Is there a risk for Biltmore?
Absolutely. If they don't get the percentage of shares they need, maybe they wanted 51% for control, the offer might fail. They've spent time and money, shown their hand, and potentially walked away with nothing. It can be risky.
Okay. And the last one, purchase of assets. How is this different from buying the whole company?
This is more selective. Instead of buying the entire corporation, stock, structure, everything, the acquiring company buys specific assets from the selling company. Could be buildings, equipment, patents, customer lists, maybe a whole division. It might be just a portion of the seller's assets, or it could be substantially all of them, which might lead to the selling company dissolving afterwards. But the key is buying specific things, often including the related liabilities like mortgages on buildings, rather than the whole corporate shell. Shareholder approval from the selling company is usually needed.
So let's use Locks Industries buying, say, 80% of Brightstar Inc.'s buildings and equipment, plus taking on the mortgages for those. What's the advantage for Locks compared to just acquiring Brightstar?
The advantage is precision and potentially avoiding unwanted baggage. Locks gets exactly the physical assets or operations it wants, maybe manufacturing plants or distribution centers. They don't have to take on Brightstar's entire workforce or its history, or maybe some other divisions Locks doesn't want or liabilities they want to avoid. It allows for a very targeted expansion or capability acquisition.
Makes sense. Focus on what you need. Okay, so we've covered companies getting bigger through combinations and the deals they use. But businesses also shrink, right? Strategically, that's divestiture.
Exactly. Divestiture is basically the opposite of a combination. It's the partial or sometimes full disposal of a part of the company, a business unit, a subsidiary, a division. It's about strategically letting go of assets.
And there are different ways to do that too, I assume. Let's start with a sell-off. Sounds pretty straightforward.
It is. A sell-off is an outright sale of a subsidiary or business unit to another company. Just like it sounds, they sell it off.
Why would a company do that? Just doesn't want it anymore.
Often, yeah. Maybe that unit's business doesn't really fit with the parent company's main strategy anymore. Or perhaps there's just no synergy. It's not contributing much or benefiting from being part of the larger group. Sometimes it can even be forced, like if regulators demand they sell something off due to antitrust concerns.
So imagine Beko Industries owns a subsidiary, Blended Ltd. Management thinks Blended is dragging down Beko's overall value, maybe confusing investors. So they sell Blended. What are they hoping happens next?
The hope is that investors will see Beko as a more focused, potentially more profitable company without Blended. The idea is that shedding the underperforming or non-core part will make the remaining company look better. Ideally, this leads to investors valuing Beko's stock more highly. The stock price goes up. It's about unlocking the parent company's perceived value.
Okay, selling it off to unlock value. What about a spin-off? That sounds like creating something new.
It is. A spin-off creates a brand new independent company from a subsidiary or division of the parent. Instead of selling it, the parent company gives shares of this new, separate company to its existing shareholders. So if you own stock in the parent, now you own stock in the parent and stock in this new spun-off company. Or sometimes shareholders can exchange parent stock for stock in the new entity.
Why do that instead of just selling it for cash?
Usually, a spin-off happens when the parent thinks the unit might actually be more valuable on its own. Maybe because it's in a totally different industry, or it's less profitable and dragging down the parent's overall numbers. The idea is that by setting it free, the spun-off unit can focus, thrive, and its value will be better recognized by the market as an independent entity.
We talked about Eli Lilly, the big pharma company. Back in '94, they wanted to focus just on drugs, so they spun off their medical devices division, which became Guidant. That sounds like a classic spinoff.
Exactly. Eli Lilly wanted pure pharma focus. Guidant made things like pacemakers and stents related to health, but a very different business than the developing drugs. By spinning Guidant off, Eli Lilly sharpened its own focus, and Guidant became a major independent player in cardiovascular devices, able to pursue its own strategy, attract its own investors, and unlock its own value. A win-win strategically.
Okay, makes sense. Finally, the equity carve-out. How is this different from a spinoff? Sounds similar creating a separate company.
Similar, but with key differences, especially around cash and control. An equity carve-out also makes a subsidiary public, but it does it through an initial public offering, an IPO. So, unlike a spin-off where shares are just distributed, here, shares in the new company are sold to the public. This sale generates cash for the parent company. That's a big difference.
Ah, so the parent gets cash back.
Right.
Yeah.
And another key difference, the parent company usually retains a controlling interest in the subsidiary even after the IPO. They sell maybe 20–30% to the public, raise cash, but still hold the majority of shares. So they get cash, they let the market value the subsidiary independently, but they still keep ultimate control.
Okay, so let's use Tico Industries, a big multinational. They've got a division they feel is distracting them from their core business. They want cash, but they also want to keep a hand in it. What's their best option?
In that situation, an equity carve-out looks like the perfect fit. They hold an IPO for the division, sell a minority stake to the public, and pocket the cash. They can use that cash for whatever, reinvest in the core business, pay down debt. And since they keep, say, 70 or 80% of the stock, they still control the subsidiary's board and strategic direction. It gives them cash, independent valuation, and ongoing control.
Got it. Cash plus control seems like a popular option. Wow, okay. So we've covered a lot of ground today. From these huge mergers that create industry giants like Kraft Heinz, all the way to strategic trimming, like Eli Lilly spinning off Guidant to sharpen focus. It's a complex world.
It really is. And these terms, mergers, acquisitions, spin-offs, carve-outs, they're not just, boring financial terms. They represent really significant strategic decisions. These are the moves that shape companies, impact jobs, ripple through markets, and, ultimately affect the products and services you use every single day. It's the real-world chessboard of business strategy.
So what's the takeaway for you listening? Well, next time you see headlines about Company X buying Company Y or spinning off some division, you'll have a much better handle on the why behind it. You can look past the headline and think about the strategy. Was it horizontal? Vertical? Was it about getting cash? Or maybe just focus. You'll be looking at it with much more informed eyes.
And that does raise a really interesting question to think about moving forward. Given all these different tools, big combinations for scale, divestitures for focus, what types of transactions do you think we'll see more of in the next few years? Especially as industries keep changing so fast and maybe the economy stays a bit unpredictable. Will companies double down on getting bigger? Or will they focus more on getting leaner and more specialized? Something to consider.
That's a great thought to chew on. Well, that's all the time we have for this deep dive. Thanks so much for joining us as we unpack the economic effects of these significant transactions. We hope you keep digging deeper with us. Until next time.